Good evening, traders. Russell Sandiford back for your weekly market outlook for easyMarkets. Well, last week's story was certainly one of very interesting trading ranges, particularly for a few key pairs such as oil finally breaking through that $58 barrier, and also gold had a really good look towards that $1,300 key resistance late last week. Now, the big movers, of course, in FX were the sterling grinding its way through that 133 handle, waiting, of course, for that Brexit headline to get through 134. But the sterling against the greenback for mine was easily the best trade, like I said last week, from 132. Easily the best trade to take a run at 135. I've actually got a renewed target on that particular trade. I think it can make its way to 136. Potentially not this week, but perhaps over the coming fortnight. Now, there's a couple of reasons there. One is the Brexit story is one that for mine can only go positive. I think they are getting a bit bored of the toing and froing and are really keen to try and get a deal on the table, even though there's a long way to that March 2019 deadline. Now, on the other side of that trade, okay, is the US dollar story. Now, as always, the US dollar is open for disappointment because the December rate hike is probably better telegraphed than any rate hike we've seen in the market since they moved on rates the first time there at the end of 2015. So for mine, it's take that US dollar and actually fade it. How else we can play that out? We got a very big sniff of that last week and a good hint in the euro against the US dollar. Of course, with the US off on Friday for their Thanksgiving holiday, no one expected big ranges, but when that volume is a bit lighter and liquidity a bit thinner, that's when you can see those run-through moves, which we certainly did see play out in euro dollar making its way to about that 1940 level before settling down a bit. Now, in terms of settling down, something that's not settling down, of course, is Bitcoin out of control over the weekend, touching highs around 9,300. This morning opened a little bit soft, but not for long, and has since turned north again. Remember, on our trading platform, guys, with easyMarkets, we are one of the rare brokers that give you a guaranteed stop loss. So if things do turn pear-shaped on your long Bitcoin trade, you've got that safety net with easyMarkets. Bear that in mind. Where it's at the moment is about 9,600. It is a bit tentative to try and break through that $10,000 marker that I've been calling for about a month or two. For mine, I think the next target is now 11,500. And come through to the dealing desk here at easyMarkets if you want a full Bitcoin update. And as well, we will also have a webinar very soon, specifically, again, just for the Bitcoin traders. But be careful of pullbacks. I think a pullback is very possible before finally punching through that 10,000 barrier. So where's the action this week? Data-wise, it's a bit thin on the ground with no non-farm payroll data this Friday. That's actually been pushed out to next week. So where is the action? Oil will be a big mover. Also, Bank of Canada speak midweek. Now, that puts dollar CAD the best FX trade to play out this week, with potentially that oil story getting through to the $60 mark that I'm praying for. If that happens, as well as any hawkish commentary there from Bank of Canada, then dollar CAD is liable to bust through that key 126.70 level. Okay, we're at about 127.20 now. If we can break under 126.70, then it's all bets are off on the downside for dollar CAD. We have seen how aggressively that pair can get lower. Now, some other key things to look at. Gold, again, is a little bit tentative. It seems on a knife edge, waiting for the US dollar sentiment to either bust through to 13.20 or to come back to 1260s or thereabouts. Very tricky one, but for mine, I think that US tax plan in its current form is likely to possibly disappoint. So shifting gears just a little, how you can play that out is look for the euro to jump above 120. It might battle with that level. So if you're looking for something a little bit more straight and clean, for mine, it's buying that sterling against the greenback. I'm sorry to repeat last week's trade, but for mine, that is definitely still one of the best major FX trades on the table. A similar version, of course, is dollar yen. I think dollar yen can make a run towards 110.80. That level's not that far away, though. So That's not a very ambitious trade, but if it does that, we might see a bit of a magnet move towards that 110 handle. Now, as a side note as well, copper just collapsed big numbers then in the last hour or so. So be very careful if you're getting long on the Aussie. I don't like that trade at the moment. Despite what the RBA came out with last week, I think the door is open for a bit of a mixed message from the RBA next Tuesday. And for that reason, I'll stay away from that one. So again, look for dollar CAD perhaps short and that sterling against the greenback to lift. As always, if you need a hand though, just come through to the desk at Easy Markets.